Training NCO, William Kalhani Malakawa. With me today is Ryan Thompson, as most of you may know, with Disruptarian Radio. I would like for him to go ahead and introduce himself formally before I get started, and before we get further going on to this, I would also like to thank the board for extending us the courtesy to speak here today. I, myself, am very grateful for the position and the job that you're doing. My son graduated from this university and is now an instructor at Manoa, in Honolulu. So I'm very grateful for my son's education and what he's gotten and accomplished from this university. So, on that, Ryan, would you like to introduce yourself?
I can't be quick, so I would like to say I am fairly new to Hawaii. I've been coming here for decades, but I've been here for a couple of years raising my 4 children, who also are benefiting by the Think Fund tremendously. Their charter school has expanded double in size because of the Think Fund and because of science and STEM here. So I have a radio station called Disruptarian at disruptarian.com. And because of this radio station, I've gotten a lot of death threats. I've been, accused of all kinds of things, being paid by TMT and other things like that. I'm very poor, I'm slightly disabled, and I don't get paid by anybody related to the TMT or the university. But I'm very proud of this community and this astronomy that we're getting here, this very unique opportunity that not just benefits my kids, but benefits all Hawaiians. When the tide rises, all ships rise. And so I know we're talking about gentrification, and I know there's a lot of problems with that. But I've lived in a lot of parts of the world where it's very difficult, and there's a lot of trauma there too, like in England. I was in England a couple of years ago, and they're doing this whole Brexit thing. There's a whole lot of English people saying, "Hey, this is my homeland. I'm English. My family's been here for 15 generations. Get out." And that's what we're hearing a lot of here. And I think it's racist. I think it's wrong, and I think it's dividing our country. And I just wanted to say, I think that what's being proposed with a lot of this is against the 14th Amendment of the Constitution. I'm very glad to have a Constitution that we can rely on, so we all have equal rights. Anyway, I'm sorry, Lisa. Thank you so much.
Okay, you just took it half my time.
I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry.
That's all good. Okay. So first of all, before I get started, I think most of you guys know that I've been quite vocal on where I stand on this issue, and that is moving forward with this TMT project. If our main aim is to reach the truth as a community, then it requires hard work, but being silent or taking the position of stalemate only compounds our issues. And in order to move forward, it will require sacrificing of what we think we know and replacing it with actual facts. I have learned throughout the years that you must never allow yourself to be controlled by your past, other people's opinions, limited beliefs, relationships, and money. I also know that racism has absolutely no place anywhere in America, as it is written in the 14th Amendment of the Constitution of the United States. Aloha resident Ryan Thompson, you can view him more as on reptarian.com. But there are a number of facts in this matter that every taxpayer should also consider. And one, that's pertaining to Queen Lili'uokalani's trust, dated to 1909 and later amended in 1911. Her trust was initially set up for orphaned and destitute children. Preference given to Hawaiian children of pure or part Aboriginal blood. Her words in the trust were never meant to be misconstrued to benefit a specific race. Also included in the deed, listed under the Queen's special provisions, was the term "as the law will permit." I think we all know that Queen Lili'uokalani was a very intelligent political woman, and she even knew that this was not okay constitutionally. Her words were never meant to be misconstrued, and also excuse me, I have to backtrack. I lost my place here. As the law will permit, until the Hawaiian Kingdom is federally recognized, then we all must abide by the U.S. laws, whether we agree with them or not. The Supreme Court in 2009 confirmed that the apology resolution carries no legal weight. According to the Queen's Trust, under Section But in Trust Nevertheless Clause, the trustees shall at all times have the most ample power and authority in their discretion from time to time to sell, lease, exchange, partition, mortgage, pledge, and or otherwise deal with and dispose of any of the lands and or other property and interests of the trust estate, etc. So, the DHHL Land Management Branch and Income Properties Branch has authority to not only manage the Hawaiian homelands, but also has the authority to manage lands not under homestead lease and develop non-homestead land for income purposes for all the people, not just the Kanaka. Section 4 of the Constitution of the State of Hawaii states that the lands granted to the State of Hawaii by Section 5B of the Admission Act and pursuant to Article 16, Section 7 of the State Constitution, excluding therefrom lands defined as available lands by Section 203 of the Hawaiian Home Commission Act, and as amended in 1920, shall be held by the state as a public interest for Native Hawaiians and the general public.
Amen.
In 1994, DHHL was granted a $600 million court settlement. The state couldn't pay it, so they state transferred lands to DHHL instead. So, there's conflict, of course. Act 14 was signed into law. Excuse me, we all gave you the same respect. I mean, I appreciate that you're all in.
Allow everybody to proceed.
That's right. Act 14 was signed into law, and the state taxpayers were obligated to pay $30 million a year from 1994 to 2014. Here it is, 2019 and 20, and taxpayers are still paying on that bill. Why is that? There was also a memorandum of agreement between DHHL, DOT, and how Hawaii County given the DOT control of the road, stating Mauna Kea Access Road is under the control and jurisdiction of DOT, pursuant to HRS 26-19 and HRS Chapter 264. DOT has control and jurisdiction over all state highways, and Mauna Kea Access Road is designated to DOT state highway systems as Route 210. This includes any portions of the road that crosses over DHHL land. The state DOE has controlled and maintained Mauna Kea Access Road since it became part of the highway system in 2018, said DOT Deputy Director S. Snyder. Prior to that time, sections of the road situated on Hawaiian homelands were maintained by the County of Hawaii pursuant to a memorandum of agreement between the county and DHHL, and that beneficiaries of the Hawaiian Homes Commission Act of 1920 do not own Mauna Kea Access Road. Act 14, 1995 resolved all claims concerning the use of Hawaiian homelands for public roads and highways built before and after statehood. He further added, as stated by Attorney General Claire E. Connors, the public is reminded that Mauna Kea Access Road is a public road controlled by DOE and that the current blockade is indeed unlawful. Between OHA and DHHL, tens of millions of dollars have been paid by all taxpayers into these funds for decades. So I'm extremely baffled as a taxpayer as to why I am paying into organizations that I clearly don't benefit from. And since I'm already paying annual taxes to OHA and DHHL, then I believe it's only right that the security that's being provided up at the Mauna Kea be paid out of the Kanaka budget, not the taxpayers. As far as I can see it,
All right, come on.
as far as I can see it, this is considered double billing on programs that we never agreed to pay
Can
for
you
in the
please
first
summarize,
place,
please?
but more importantly has already been paid for and resolved. I'm getting there. And supposedly there's 170,000 tons of gold bars sitting at the Bank of Hawaii under the account name Kingdom of Hawaii, but apparently all this is still not enough. The natives want sovereignty, which will never happen without the consensus of all the people residing in Hawaii. So, bottom line is, okay,
Okay,
summary.
let's,
So,
everybody, okay, look. We all have our different opinions here. We're
I
all-
didn't get paid, nobody needs to pay me,
We're
darling.
all in the same boat here.
So,
I thank
what
all of
I
you.
say to summarize is, let's go ahead and count our losses and build another road. The protesters
Amen.
have said time and time again that they have no intention of leaving that access road, no matter how long it takes. I believe they will continue to balk at every attempt in resolving this matter, and I also believe they are going to continue using every stalling tactic in order to cause further delays. It's time to stop this insanity
please summarize?
and wasting everybody's time and money.
Okay, thank you.
Mahalo.
Everybody, listen, we want to get through this, we want to hear all of your opinions and your needs, and we respect all of you for that. And I want to thank all of you for the kukua and keeping to the time frames generally, and helping.
Debate, and when is this debate going to take place? This is Ryan.
Both of you, in fact, bring as many
Darren,
as
you
you
want to
need
go
to.
and do a debate
Yes,
with us?
anytime.
Yes, okay.
And, oh yeah, set it up. Oh, this debate, oh God.
I just wanted to-
Thank you.
Ryan Thompson.
Ryan Johnson,
Fairly
and some Malakawa.
I'm sorry, what is it?
Malakawa, like King Kalakaua, but with an M.
Your first
King
name?
Kalakaua, but with an M?
Your first name?
Lisa, Lisa.
I'm glad the other side of the street is too.
That's right.
Malakaua. Lisa Malakaua, and you?
Ryan Thompson.
Thompson. And you're licensed to practice in Hawaii?
Practice what?
Law, didn't you say he's your lawyer?
Oh, no.
Oh,
No, she just met me on my radio station. I have a radio
Local media,
station.
that's all.
Yeah.
Nothing, nobody.
okay,
report.
no.
Yeah, no, we're not important. I'm not
So
important
just so you know,
anyway.
in my testimony, I'm going to invite you to an educational public debate because apparently no idea what you're talking about. Well, let's let the public decide that.
I mean, do you agree that $600 million was paid in the settlement? That was paid over
For
20
stolen
years.
lands. For stolen
Yes.
lands.
Well, for used
For
lands, including roads and highways.
For
That-
stolen lands.
But if I read Act 14, I'm seeing that it
For
covers roads and highways.
stolen lands.
But it was
So she
paid.
made it sound like you guys are
Covers
paying
roads.
and giving Hawaii some kind of, unnatural benefit. No, the state of
No,
Hawaii
it's
stole
still
those
being
lands.
paid though. It was ended at
Yeah,
2014.
it
The
was the-
600 million was paid by
Budget ended
2014.
2014.
How much?
And they're
What
still
was the
getting
value
state
what was the
and
value of the
federal.
lands taken? Do you know? 1.2 billion.
What was the settlement?
What
was
point
agreed
two
upon?
billion?
But what was agreed upon? And what was settled?
Lands and money. Where's the lands?
There's 1,320
Where's
acres
the lands?
that are being transferred.
Did they ever transfer those lands?
They've actually
They did not.
designated them, and
They
they
did
are
not. That was
transferred.
24 years ago. You have no idea what you're talking about.
I know that since 2014. Oh, ma'am, you dropped your earring.
$100 package.
I know that since 2014, though, millions, tens of millions have been paid
Why Act
since.
14 is done? It's to redress the unlawful taking of Hawaiian homelands by the state of Hawaii.
Up until 1994. Up until 1994.
Unlawful taking.
And the settlement was,
600
Hey.
million plus land exchange.
but
no
not,
lands were exchanged.
but not the monies
No
that were
lands were
after
exchanged.
2014.
No lands were exchanged.
Okay, but was
They
the
took
money after
1.2 billion,
2014 still
they took
included?
1.2 billion.
All right, so let's pause for just a minute. Now, the settlement of $600 million that was agreed upon. Now they're trying to renegotiate it, saying that it was worth 1.2 billion. So they're saying no, so 600 million wasn't enough. Now we want 1.2 billion. It's like if I say my house is worth $3 million, but I sell it for $2,000, I have an agreement to sell, and that's the agreement. I can't come back, 20 years later and say, no, $2,000 wasn't enough. Now I want the full $2 million. That's not how contracts work. That's not how settlements work. That's not how the court process works. But here, this is from Department of Hawaiian Homelands. This shows right here, at the end of this case, Nilsson versus HHC case ruling, that since the court settlement in the early 1990s of $600 million with $30 million paid annually is set to expire in 2014. So it was set to expire because 20 years times $30 million is $600 million. That was paid. Now, as far as the land transfer, thousands of acres have already been transferred, and they've got 1,328 that's provisioned already to be transferred, and they've just been waiting for those signatures to happen. There was nothing in Act 14 that says, by this date, these lands should be transferred or else the contract's null and void. It has to have that. There has to have those clauses, or else there is no date. So it could be 50 years from now that they're transferred. But it shows clearly that the government is forcing taxpayers to pay for the settlement. They already paid the $600 million. They've already transferred thousands of acres. And I'll give you some links to where these can be found, these acres that have been transferred. And there is a small amount, 1,328 acres, that are still being transferred. And the signatures haven't happened, but they've already been designated. But the problem is that since 2014, when this ended, years after that, all the way up to this year, OHA, Office of Hawaiian Affairs, and Department of Hawaiian Homelands are receiving tens of millions of dollars every year from taxpayers, both state and federal taxpayers, that isn't owed to Department of Hawaiian Homelands. That wasn't part of the settlement. That's what we were saying. He's going off on some tangent on why this was paid. The fact is that the settlement was reached, the payments were made. Just like Kamehameha School settled with someone they were racist to and paid them $7 million. Why were they paying $7 million? Because they racially discriminated against somebody not being allowed into their schools. Does it matter, in the court settlement, does it matter why? No, it matters that it was settled. The settlement was reached, the payment was made, end of the deal, right?
And paid 50 cents on the dollar. So don't stand here and tell us we're cheating taxpayers.
No, what I'm saying
State
is
of
that
Hawaii
the
has been
settlement
cheating
was
Hawaiians.
paid. No, what I'm saying is the settlement was paid by 2014. There was 20
$600
years.
million for
Right.
1.2 billion.
That was the agreed upon settlement, right?
600 million for 1.2
So you're trying to
billion.
renegotiate the settlement.
No, we want them to implement it. They never
Okay.
transferred the lands.
No, okay, but they're
They
still
never-
paying. They're
they
still
never-
paying.
No, they
the
stopped paying the
600 million was paid.
It's done.
At
No lands were
2014,
transferred.
right?
So stop saying.
No, so at 2014,
that
the-
you're somehow being cheated.
No, what I'm saying is that in
If anybody knows
2014,
racism
the
and
600,
cheated, it's us.
the 600 million was paid in 2014. Yet taxpayers are still paying tens of $millions a year. That's what I'm saying.
For
For nothing.
stolen
It's already
lands.
been paid. The
For
settlement was
stolen
paid.
lands.
The payment was made. The settlement was agreed upon. The payment was
Are you willing
made.
to debate?
I
Just
would,
me.
absolutely.
Bring as much as you like. Just me.
Absolutely.
Okay, good.
Okay.
I look forward to it.
Thank you.
But
What's your name?
Facts. Hali aloha y'all.
Okay, well, I don't think my facts are incorrect. I think that
You
the
don't
settlement
even
was
know what the
paid.
facts are.
Well, but the payment was
hold
made,
on.
right?
Excuse me. Just lower it just a teeny bit. I'm just going to say aloha to you. My name is Pua Case, and you are misinformed, and you don't know your facts. And I'm just going to say, and you don't know your history. So to stand, excuse me. So to stand up there in front of all of our people and say things that are pointedly incorrect, I'm going to ask you to relook at your testimony. That's all I'm asking you to do.
Sure, I can do that for you.
All right, thank you.
And then can I also ask you guys something? Can you stop going and doing whatever it is you're doing based on only partial of
No,
your
you
Hawaiian
can't.
history?
No, you
which is
can't.
called the Blount
So
report.
I'm just
Try
gonna-
reading the Morgan
No,
report.
yeah. I
And
come
then
from
let's
that
go from
mountain.
there.
We can contact each other.
Yeah.
Because I don't know how do we
But I'm happy.
So 808,
I'm happy to talk.
206,
Happy to talk.
7399. And then you can write me at, just for email purpose,
Yeah,
I hardly ever answer the phone, so
Because
it's
we're gonna
radio.
have this all the
This is
time.
an email.
This is
Yeah,
what these
so it's
people
radio
do.
at Disruptarian,
Make the connection.
Disruptarian, I'm sorry, I-A-N, disruptarian.
Yeah, I think I spelled it right.
I think you got it.
Yeah,
Dot com.
like disrupt, but.
Cool.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah, brother, I'm not trying to have any hurt feelings. Here's my
You have no
thing.
idea how much hurt you just created. That's what we were
I
talking
don't think,
about.
I think
Generational
that
trauma.
the hurt goes both ways, though. I really do.
Yours is fairly recent.
Yeah.
Mine was generational. But it's okay. I'll just talk to you on the side.
Yeah, yeah.
Me and you.
Yeah.
And you know how much really hurt we are.
I know you're hurt. I know that we're hurt. I know I've had death threats sent my way.
No. Really.
I can't know. I don't know your pain, and I don't think you know my pain. But I think,
But just listen. Who's
okay,
like?
I'll
Who was born
listen.
to the
You
island?
asked me a question. I'm just trying to answer.
Listen. You gotta come to a point and listen to what we have to say, because we never moved off of this island.
Yeah.
Generations and generations of Kanaka never moved off this island.
Right. I hear you. Here's the thing. When I think,
Generations.
can I have something to say too?
No, you gotta listen to
I'm
us
listening.
first.
I'll listen.
Before you run your mouth.
I'm listening.
The Kanaka is who you gotta listen to before you run your mouth.
Okay.
You're
But
only
can
a visitor.
I'm not a visitor. This is my
No,
home.
listen.
This
Where
is
your
my
parents were from? Where your grandparents were from?
Where's your ancestry?
Right
from?
here.
Tahiti.
Right here. No.
Kanaka come from Tahiti.
Who said that?
From Tahiti, brother.
Who said that?
That's the DNA. That's
Who
the
said that?
language. I mean, that's
Tell me
that's the
who
history.
told you that? Who told you?
That's,
Where you wrote? Where you
that's
agreed
the
that?
history and that's the science.
Who wrote that?
Excuse
history?
me,
Who
I'm
wrote
just
that
gonna
history?
ask you, this is
Who
getting
wrote that history?
confrontational. Could you
No,
just?
like talk to this guy. I want to talk to
I'm
him.
agreeing to talk
Because
to
he
this
brings
brother.
up shit about everybody. You bring up people's records. You
What
bring
record?
up people's records.
What record?
Police records on your fucking team, bro.
Police records
read
what?
your shit.
I've never wrote what police records.
This is a type
Yeah, come on, bro. You can.
Yeah, he has to
I know
talk
you
to me. I'm
can.
just trying to
I
be
know you
compatible.
can.
He wanted to
I know
speak,
what you're
so
trying
I'm
to say.
listening.
I know.
Kindly ask you,
Okay.
this
But you know it's not
Yeah,
worth it.
that's fine with me. I'm listening to him. I'm hearing him out. So I don't have any problems here.
I know.
I mean, this is just communication.
Sitting Bull requested this council. We await his words.
Take your soldiers out of here. They scare the game away.
Very well, sir. Tell me then, how far away should I take my men?
You must take them out of our lands.
What precisely are your lands?
These are the lands where my people lived before you whites first came.
I don't understand. We whites were not your first enemies. Why don't you demand back the land in Minnesota where the Chippewa and others forced you from years before?
The Black Hills are sacred land given to my people by Wakantonka.
Not very convenient to cloak your claims in spiritualism. And what would you say to the Mormons and others who believe that their God has given to them Indian lands in the West?
I would say they should listen to Wakantonka.
No matter what your legends say, you didn't sprout from the plains like the spring grasses, and you didn't coalesce out of the ether. You came out of the Minnesota woodlands, armed to the teeth, and set upon your fellow man. You massacred the Kiowa, the Omaha, the Ponca, the Oto, and the Pawnee without mercy. And yet you claim the Black Hills as a private preserve bequeathed to you by the Great Spirit.
And who gave us the guns and powder to kill our enemies? And who traded weapons to the Chippewa and others who drove us from our home?
Chief Sitting Bull, the proposition that you were a peaceable people before the appearance of the white man is the most fanciful legend of all. You were killing each other for hundreds of moons before the first white stepped foot on this continent. You conquered those tribes, lusting for their game and their lands, just as we have now conquered you for no less noble a cause.
This is your story of my people.
This is the truth, not legend.
So there are Americans whose present benefits are due to past advantage. By the way, this past advantage, which is often assumed to continue with the white man, actually goes all the way back to the beginning. The American Indians who were here first, right, had a huge advantage. We presume that they owned the whole country. Now, by the way, let's pause for a moment. How do you get to own a country? If you have Cain and Abel is a shepherd, and Cain is a farmer, and Cain says, okay, I'm not going to put a fence around the whole world. I own it, because I'm the only guy here. You're a shepherd. And my descendants will now inherit the earth, and anybody who shows up is a usurper. Rousseau says that the first guy who puts up a fence and claims he owns something is a con man. So the American Indians came. They happened to be first. They came in a bunch of tribes. The Navajos who got the land took it from the Hopi or the Pueblo. Their law of the jungle was conquest. That's how they got the land. There's a big fight about the Black Hills that I cover in the film. The Sioux who got the Black Hills took it from the Cheyenne. So when we say, oh, give us the land back, are you going to turn around and give it back to the Cheyenne? Oh, no. It's ours. Really? How come you own it forever now? So what I'm getting at here is history is very complicated. Let me give you an example of India so we can look at this at the level of theory. Okay? India was invaded by the British, and earlier by the Afghans and the Persians and the Mongols. So you have all these successive invasions, right? Are you actually saying that you believe in a rule of social justice today that says globally, let's look at this as a global rule of justice, I'm going to figure out whose ancestors did what to whom, and I'm going to return goods that were illicitly taken from the beginning to the people who had it originally. Do you believe that that's a viable way to organize our society?